everyone, and welcome. My name's Ava, and I'll be your host today for the Awesome Girls Read Along. Awesome Girl Read Along brings some of our favorite books to the screen and allows girls from across the nation to hear and read along with our authors. Today, we will be reading with Janet Lowler, the author of Kindergarten Hat. We are so excited to be here with you today. So today you are joined with either a computer or a phone and have the option to put questions into the log. There are also tabs on the right-hand side of your screen, and feel free to explore those at any time. There's also an option to download the handout from the tabs, so please make sure to do so. And hi everyone, as I've mentioned, my name is Ava. I'm a Girl Scout ambassador from the nation's capital. I've been a Girl Scout for 10 years, and with Girl Scouts, I have to say the most fun things about it have been talking about cookies and making s'mores. So I'm from nation's capital, which is close to Washington, D.C., but let's see where all of you guys live. So we have people from all across the United States. I think that's really cool. Today, you won't need anything but your ears to read along with the story. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I want to start off by introducing our author today, Janet Lowler. Janet began writing stories for children when her son and daughter were very young. They have been the source of many of her stories. So has her pet dogs, lizards, guinea pigs, crickets, fish, birds, and rabbits. A lot of pets. Janet enjoys nature and being outdoors and is not afraid of bugs, spiders, or snakes. In her spare time, she loves playing tennis and platform tennis. She likes walking her dog, sharing tea time with friends, reading, and gardening. She also loves to travel. She enjoys visiting new places and meeting new people that sparks curiosity and creativity. There's always a new story right around the corner.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy and excited to be with you today to share my latest picture book, Kindergarten Hat. I've written about 25 books. This is my latest. And when I talk to kids, I like to share with them how I came up with the idea for my book. Every story is different, and I like to tell kids that just like an author, you have story ideas in your head because there's story ideas all around you every day. And maybe someday you will try to be an author, write your stories down, and maybe even illustrate them. I'm not the illustrator of my book. Geraldine Rodriguez is. But I'd like to show you a few things. First of all, you might wonder why I'm wearing this kind of crazy hat. It's because a hat like this gave me the idea for Kindergarten Hat about 27 years ago. My son, Andy, who's now a young adult, was starting kindergarten. And I'm going to show you a few pictures. Here's Andy's picture when he was, the day he was starting kindergarten. And I want to tell you a little bit about Andy was kind of a nervous kid. I don't know if you're thinking back to your first day of school, whether you were nervous or not. I think a lot of us are nervous on the first day of anything we try in life. And I think that's true for kids and adults. But Andy was a worrier, and he worried about whether the bus would come. And part of the reason he worried about that was that in our town, they had a dry run. So the bus would come in August, a few weeks before school actually started, so that the kindergartners could try out the run on the bus. And on the day of our dry run, the bus driver forgot our street. So Andy worried all the way till the first day of school that the bus would forget him. So you'll see that in my story. Andy also loved to garden. Here's a picture of him in front of his popcorn garden. And you'll see a little bit of that in my story. And here he is, actually. Here's Mrs. Bechet, his kindergarten teacher. Can you see the arrow here to show Mrs. Bechet's kind of crazy hat? She wore a hat like this, actually much better than this, on her first day, so kids could find her when they got off the bus. And a friend of mine whose daughter had Mrs. Bechet Here's another picture. Can you see that crazy, crazy hat? So 9.5 years after Andy started kindergarten, my daughter Cammie went to kindergarten, and she got a letter from Mrs. Bechet, who was the same teacher 9.5 years later, to bring a flower for her hat on the first day of school. And I actually don't know why she asked for more flowers, because you could see how many there were. But here's Cammie in the kitchen holding her the little purple flower that she was going to bring. And I don't know if you can see, she looks a little nervous. And then by the time she got into the driveway, she at least had a bit of a smile on her face. So that's the backstory. And now I'm going to read to you Kindergarten Hat. And because there's quite a bit of text, and because the artwork is so lovely, rather than me holding the pages up, we're going to do it on the camera here using a PowerPoint. So you won't see my face till the end again, although you'll hear my voice while we're reading. Okay, so here we are on the dedication page, and you can see to Farmington's fine teachers, especially Judy Bechet, and that was the teacher who inspired this book. And then we'll move on to the beginning of the book. I don't want to go to kindergarten, Carlos said as he worked in his garden. I won't know anyone there. New friendships blossom in new places, said his mother. What if the bus gets lost? Carlos asked. It won't, said his mother. What if I can't find my teacher? He asked. You will, his mother replied. Carlos wasn't so sure. The next day, the mail arrived while Carlos was practicing his moves. A letter for me, he cried. His mother read it to him. Dear Carlos, I hope you are having a fun summer. I will be your teacher this year. On the first day, I will wear a huge flowered hat. Please bring a flower for it and a big kindergarten smile. I can't wait to meet you. Your teacher, Mrs. Bechet. P.S. Sometime soon, please send me a photo of you doing something you love. Carlos spent 2 days deciding what photo to take and send. He liked building forts, playing soccer, and vrooming cars. He liked drawing pictures and fiddling on Mom's phone. But most of all, he loved gardening, the fun of his fingers in dirt, the surprise of seed sprouting, and the brightness of the blooms. So Carlos posed in front of his flowers. The night before school began, Carlos lay awake for a long time. When he finally fell asleep, he dreamed he was lost in a scary forest. The next morning, Carlos woke early, his tummy twisting and turning. But after breakfast, he rushed out and picked the most beautiful daisy for Mrs. Bechet. Carlos clutched his flower with both hands. Would Mrs. Bechet like it? His mother gave him a hug and walked him onto the bus. Carlos slid into an empty seat and gently set the daisy down. Chatter and laughter filled the air. Everyone seemed to know one another. A lot of the kids were so much bigger than him. When the bus swayed around a corner, he glanced back and saw a boy holding a rose. The boy smiled and nodded. Then Carlos heard a voice. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me not. An older girl was plucking petals off a daisy. Carlos looked down. His flower was gone. That's mine, he exclaimed, grabbing it back. I'm sorry, said the girl. I found it on the floor. It's ruined. Carlos squeezed his eyes tight. A tear fell. He tried poking the petals back in place, but they wouldn't stay. The bus pulled up at school. I'm really sorry, the girl said again. Have a good first day. Carlos slumped. The boy with the rose paused in the aisle. Come on, he encouraged, waving Carlos out. Carlos peered out the window. Then he saw it, the most magnificent, stupendous, tremendous hat, bouncing and dipping. The brim tipped up and he glimpsed a smiling lady, Mrs. Bechet. Children gathered around her. They offered her real flowers and ones made of silk, paper, and plastic. One kid even gave her a balloon blossom. Carlos took a deep breath. Then he stepped off the bus and stood under a tree. Mrs. Bechet flipped through photos, calling names. Her students lined up. Carlos, she called. Carlos Obredo? He gave a tiny wave. As Mrs. Bechet approached, Carlos dropped what was left of the daisy behind his back. Hi, Carlos, she said. Welcome to kindergarten. He sniffled. I don't have a flower for you anymore. That's okay, Mrs. Bechet said. Carlos pointed to his photo. See that big daisy? That was for you. It was, asked Mrs. Bechet. Carlos took a deep breath. Maybe we can pretend. What a good idea, said Mrs. Bechet. She nestled the picture smack in the middle of her hat. We're going to have a fun year. Let's go start our first day. Then Carlos gave Mrs. Bechet the other thing he was supposed to bring to school, a great big kindergarten smile.
Thank you so much, Janet. That was a wonderful story. Now we're going to be moving on. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say thank you back.
Next, we're going to be moving on to our questions. Our first question is, did you always want to write, even when you were a child?
I always liked to write. I didn't plan on writing books for children until I was older, but I always made cards and I wrote poems. Here's one of my earliest cards that I like to show kids. I don't know if you can see the Happy Easter. I show this because you can see that I made a mistake. I've got my S backwards, and I tell kids it's okay to make mistakes, that kids make mistakes, and so do adults, and that's how we learn. And so I've always been a writer, and writing for kids is my second career because I was a lawyer for 15 years. I went to law school because I always loved school. So I did quite a bit of it.
That's wonderful. All right. Our next question is, the art in the book is beautiful. Did you get to choose what illustrations would be included?
That's a really good question. I did not get to choose the illustrations. Generally, publishers pick the illustrators for the book. And in this case, Geraldine Rodriguez is from Mexico, so I have never met her. I have emailed her to tell her how much I love her art. But I thought it would be interesting to share just a little bit, just like when a writer writes a story for a publisher, they make you edit the book. There's a dialogue back and forth. They may say a sentence isn't right, sort of like your teachers might say to you, can you do a little bit better here, change something? So artists also have to change. And here's a sketch. This is, I don't know if you remember the page in the book where there was a scary forest. And here you can see the scary forest has faces on it. And that was at the sketch stage. And by the time we finalized the book, both the editor and I did get to look again, and we thought those faces on the trees we're kind of like, I think there's some movies where there's talking trees, and we didn't want to distract from the story. So I do get a say in the art, but I don't really have a big say. If that's kind of a long answer, but
not at all. That's very interesting. So, what was your first book? First book that you wrote?
The first book I wrote was If Kisses Were Colors, which is a mother's love poem. Maybe, I don't know if you, when I showed you my daughter's picture, I didn't mention Cammie was adopted from Vietnam. And when she was 7 months old, I wrote a mother's love poem that I dedicated to both her and my son. My son is my biological son. And as I always tell audiences, my love for both my children is the same, and I dedicated this love poem to both of them because I started out as a mother's love poem for my adopted daughter, but it was about a mother's love in general. So I wrote that about 25 years ago.
Wow, that sounds super sweet. So what do you like about being an author?
What I like about being an author is I can just always be excited about the next story that I'm working on. I have next year, I have this book coming out. This is just a sketch of the cover called Walrus Song. So one day I was listening to 10 hours of walrus noises on YouTube, and I said, I have to learn more about these fascinating creatures. So I kind of get to take something that interests me and work on it. And then also things that are close to my heart. I get to either tell kind of a real story, or like Kindergarten Hat. It's a made up story, but it has some real elements. And I also really like that I can keep my own schedule. I don't pay attention to whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I work at different hours almost every day of the week, but I also really like to be active. So I oftentimes start my day working, and then I jump up and I go exercise for an hour, and then I come back, and I don't have to shower until I'm done working if I don't want to, because nobody's going to see me here at my desk. So the schedule is pretty good.
It's about your hat. So, did you make the hat that you're wearing right now?
Oh, I did. I did make the hat that I'm wearing. Actually, it was a very old sun hat. And then I went online and ordered these fake flowers and glued them on. But I'm glad that you asked me, because I wanted to tell the girls about, if they go to my website, which they can see here, there's a craft that you can do. You can make a kindergarten hat for yourself, and what you'll find is it's free to download. You see the hat like this, and then there's directions, and all you need is a glue stick and some tissue paper and cotton balls. And so that's a lot of fun. I thought that would be a fun thing for kids to do. So pretty much all of my books have free things that you can download for coloring sheets or crafts or activities.
That does sound fun.
It was fun.
So I guess might seem like a easy question, but do you love hats?
I don't wear hats that often, actually, other than when I'm out walking in the sun, because now everybody's saying you don't want to get too much sun on your skin if you can avoid it. So whenever I walk my dog, I wear a hat. And I don't wear this one, though, because I think people would probably laugh at me. I have a big sun hat. And then I wear hats when I play tennis, usually. Yeah.
I would love to wear that hat at school if I could.
Well, maybe I'll send it to you. You can borrow it.
Awesome. So, next question. What's the favorite book you have written? What's your favorite?
Oh, that's a hard question. I have so many favorite. I guess favorite for this season, why don't I say that, is Fright School, which is about where monsters go to learn how to scare the trick-or-treaters. And this book came out a couple of years ago, and that's a lot of fun. And the other one that I think you all might really like is Snowzilla. And there's a little girl who's the main character, and she takes matters into her own hands when this giant snowman, they build a giant snowman, and then the town tells them that it's too big and they have to tear it down. And that story idea came from reading about a giant snowman called Snowzilla in Alaska that was over 25 feet tall. So a true story gave me the idea for that one. So
wow,
but right now, I guess I'd have to say Kindergarten Hat is kind of my current favorite, because I think kids going back to school in all different ways right now, and at all different times with all these different questions, it's a little bit scary. And I think remembering to go to school with a great big kindergarten smile like Carlos did is maybe a little bit of help for people.
Right. And for the girls watching this, do you have any advice for this upcoming kindergarten school year?
I think the best advice is to take that smile every day and to look around, and whether or not you're wearing a mask, every state, I guess, is different. In Connecticut, where I am, we are wearing masks. And I've noticed that you really can see whether somebody's smiling behind a mask. So I hope that, just like Carlos did, the little boy in the bus, and then the girl who unfortunately did a number on his flower was trying to be friendly at the end, that you be open to making new friends when you get to school, and keep smiling. And then don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that is how we learn. I didn't, I always got my B's and my D's mixed up. And I was very shy when I went to kindergarten, just like Carlos. So there's a little bit of me in him too.
That's some very sound advice. Thank you so much. And thank you again. That was a wonderful story. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Ava.
Glad you could come. In the tabs, you can see that there are many other ways to continue to engage with Girl Scouts. The first experience is called Make New Friends, and it is a 4-part series that prepares your girl for kindergarten. You can also sign up for other read-along events happening throughout the rest of the fall. Visit the Girl Scout shop for Ready, Set Kindergarten activities and kits. Follow the link in the tab. And finally, we wanted to encourage you to continue staying engaged with Girl Scouts. We are here for you. Just as remember, please download the handout to learn more about your experiences from Girl Scouts with the tabs. We hope that you have a great day, and you can join us for our next event of A Book for Escargot with author Dashka Slater on October 6th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.